Just we'll go on schedule. Saturday, the 11 o'clock game, dud, absolute dud. Really had high hopes for Tech, but Oregon's defense came in, carried the day for Tech. They topped them 23-0. This was just Tech couldn't get anything going on offense. I mean, terrible. You had Brenton Morton, 18 of 32, 137 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. As a team, they ran the ball 30 times for 78 yards, no touchdowns. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that, really. I mean, Cameron Dickey, best running back you've had all year, 11 carries, 29 yards. You look at Jacoby Williams, 13 carries, 81 yards. But then, Morton was sacked 6 times. He was just on the ground. They could never get anything going. And even when they finally got into the end zone or into the red zone at one point, they ran a basic, post corner, and Oregon sat in a zone out there. They had the guy, basically what he did, ran a little curl route. They ran that post to the corner, and he just floated it right up there. And all that cornerback had to do was just drop right back in his zone, see it, and he picked it right off. I don't know what these guys did. It was Tech was horrible. Oregon on their side, they did a little better. Dante Moore, 26 of 33, 234 yards. No touchdowns, 1 interception. As a team, they ran the ball 47 times for 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. It really went back and forth there for a while. Oregon, what was it? It was 6-0 at halftime, right? So, they really Tech got the ball, and you thought, okay, hey, look, they can, wipe this blemish off, come out, put some kind of points on the board to start the second half. Really, when they came out and they went 3 and out in that first drive, I don't know about anybody else, but I was kind of like, I don't know, doesn't look good. I kind of chalked it up as, man, I don't think this is going to go well whatsoever. They went back and forth. They had some opportunities. They fumbled the ball shortly after that. Oregon was able to, take advantage of that because it was down deep in their end zone. They scored a touchdown, put that distance between them. Tech had a couple different drives there where they had a 12-play drive for 57 yards, didn't get anything out of it, turned it over on downs. They picked Oregon off again. Then they drove all the way down the field, got intercepted again, and then Oregon just kind of kept chipping away there and did them in. So it's really disappointing for Tech. I don't know what else to say. They just didn't show up at the end of the day. They didn't get off the bus. Their defense played well. I mean, I'll give their defense kudos. They held on as long as they could. If their offense was able to put some kind of points on the board, you don't end up with 23-0. There was a late, touchdown score there, so you're really looking at, hey, 16-0 is what it was. If you hold a team, especially an Oregon Duck team, to 16 points, typically you think you're going to win that game, especially if you have the kind of high-power offense. To me, what this brings into it is okay, how fraud is the Big 12? Right? That's what the whole conversation is now, right? About this. The Big 12's not very good. You have this team that went 12 and 1. Who are they playing? They didn't have any competition. Oregon's the 3rd best team in the Big 10 as far as regular season standings go. So, what has it happened here? So,
Yeah. Man, terrible outing for that Texas Tech offense. Absolutely abysmal. I mean, they couldn't do anything right. They couldn't throw the ball. They couldn't run the ball. They did absolutely nothing to help their defense. I mean, that defense played well enough for them to win the game, in my opinion. You can only go out there and make stop after stop so many times before you get A, tired, or B, just discouraged that, we're working our ass off out here and these guys are doing nothing with it. Like, they put them in good field position. They got them the ball in opportune times. It's just, there was nothing going on offense. And I'm not a believer in Oregon's defense that they're that good. I think Tech's offense was that.
I agree. Look, here's the drives for Tech. Here it is. So, in the first quarter, they had 2 drives, 3 plays, punt, 3 plays, punt. So your first 2 drives are 3 and out and punt. In the second quarter, interception, missed field goal, fumble, punt. That's so your first seven possessions, you have 3 punts, an interception, and a fumble. turnover, right? Um, and then you start the third quarter, punt, fumble, turnover on downs, interception, turnover on downs, turnover on downs, in the game. Their longest drive here is so they've got one for 10 plays with 46 yards, and that was in the 10 plays for 46 yards that ended up in the interception in the end zone.
Yeah, if you were to read me that same thing and you give me just an average defense, the score's 56-0.
1000%.
So
Yeah.
Tech's defense played very. They came to play. I mean, they were prepared to win a ball game. The offense, geez, Louise, I can't explain it because they weren't that bad all year long. They would put up points. Now, granted, they weren't. Nobody was saying that their offense is what was keeping them alive all season, but geez, they weren't that bad.
I mean,
I
they've
mean,
had, yeah, they no, I mean, they had a definitely efficient team as far as running the ball. Um, and it's not, I don't know. It's just I agree. It's
I'm.
mind boggling.
It's it's sad to see because if you move forward from here, it's going to be hard. You mentioned it a little bit. It's going to be hard to say to yourself a 12-1 Big 12 team is a good playoff football team to have in there. And if you look at Tech's schedule for next year, it's quite literally worse as far as competition level goes than what this year's was. Some of the teams in their conference get tremendously better, which I don't see happening in 1 year. They're going to be probably right back here if they spend the same amount of money and keep some of these kids and get some of these transfers. But for what, to get blown out in the first round or the first game?
And the only way that if they're going to consider these teams getting better is if they play hard non-conference games and win. And you really only have BYU that's going to be playing. Notre Dame, that's going to be a big test, even though they're going to get that one at home. Um, I mean, looking at Tech's, games right now that are confirmed, you've got Abilene Christian, Oregon State, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Cincinnati, um, Colorado, Houston. I mean, it's just kind of there's really yeah, you've got
There's not a lot there.
no, there's there's nothing here. I pulled the wrong. So yeah, you've got Abilene Christian, Oregon State, Sam Houston State, at Baylor, at Cincinnati, at Colorado, at Oklahoma State, Arizona, Arizona State, TCU, Houston, and West Virginia. You don't even play. So next year, even if you consider the Big 12, the heavy dogs of this year, you're not going to play Utah. You're not going to play BYU. So you're skipping those two teams that were heavy hitters this year, right?
Those two teams that boosted up your schedule. I mean,
100%. Yeah. So the only chance that you can really have is if you go through this, say BYU beats Notre Dame and Notre Dame has a good year, and then you play them in the championship game and you beat them. But you're gonna have to prove it. You're gonna have to prove it in the playoffs. Um, playing playing Abilene Christian, Oregon State, and Sam Houston State in non-conference schedule is not going to do you any favors whatsoever.
now, in really, in that whole conference, there's nobody that plays the physical style of football that you find in the playoffs. These teams that are in right now, they do a decent job of going and recreating that in their non-conference schedule so that when you get here, you've at least experienced it, whether it was early in the season, middle of the season, you at least have some sort of familiarity with it. And if you don't have it early on, then you work on it and find what you need to find by the time you get there.
Yeah.
But
That's just why I thought Oregon would be a good matchup for him because Oregon's not your traditional, heavy hitting team. Now they've adapted to it from being in the Big Ten and playing teams, like
yeah,
an Ohio State, like Michigan, like I guess now Indiana. But you play other teams that are really run heavy focused, Wisconsin, Minnesota, people like that. Like yeah, they're not. These aren't high power offenses that you're thinking of, but Iowa right? These teams turn around and they hand the ball off to their running backs and they block the shit out of you. Like that's what they do. That's how they play their offense. That's what they're,
That's their
so
game plan.
used to it. So yeah, I agree. The physicality, dealing with that kind of stuff, it just maybe it just wasn't there. And that's a wild thing to sit there and say, hey, Oregon is a tougher team than you, because that's just not something that traditionally Oregon is. But if you go back to what Tech traditionally is, they're not a very tough team either. That's not to say that this team specifically was not, because their defense showed that they were, that's not what they are, but their offense didn't play with any kind of physicality or spark that weekend.